James fires a three. Bang! Kobe takes it to court. Bryant for the
win. Welcome back to the Double Trouble podcast. It's been a few weeks since the last episode. There's a lot to talk about. Mainly, there's gonna be a mid-season review for the NBA portion of the podcast. So, I'm gonna talk about All-Star Weekend. I'm gonna talk about everything that's happened this season leading up to the halfway point of the season, and it was franchise tag day for the NFL. So there's a lot of things to talk about there. So hopefully you'll enjoy. Let's get into the Double Trouble podcast. So we are halfway through the NBA season, which is kind of crazy to say. It seemed like it's been flying by, but we're halfway. It feels like it started just yesterday. And we've been pacing through it. There's teams that are good unexpectedly. There's teams that are bad unexpectedly. But, you have what you have. Really, COVID hasn't affected the season that badly. Like, there's no team that you'll be like, okay, yeah, COVID is the reason they're this bad, or COVID is the reason they're this good, which is good. It's kind of like the NFL. It happens here and there, but it's nothing crazy to the point where it's, like, genuinely hurting the season. I think the biggest surprise in the East, definitely the Knicks, over 500. First time since 2013, 2012. It's been a long time since they're over 500 at All-Star break. And it just feels good to be a Knicks fan for the first time in a long time. Now, I don't think they're going to fall out. Obviously, the gap between the 5th seed and the 11th seed is only like 5 or so games. But this is one of the first times in a long time you can look at the Knicks and be like, yo, this is a good team. They're playing good basketball. They've got a good coaching staff. They've got a good bench. They got a good starting lineup. Like, yeah, all of that. They are a good team. And I think they're going to stay in the playoffs. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to stay the 5th seed. That's very good for the Knicks. They might, though. They're very good. Derrick Rose has been a great addition. Julius Randle playing incredible, obviously. Obi Toppin's been whatever. Emmanuel Quickley's been amazing. So, it's just a happy time to be a Knicks fan. And I think they're the biggest surprise in the East. Like, it's surprising that they're that good right now. And, then you got the Sixers. Sixers are the 1st seed. 24-12. They've been incredible this year. Doc Rivers, all-star coach. Joel Embiid leading in MVP. Is he still leading in MVP? I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about the midseason MVP. You got the Nets, and that's gonna segue into the next thing I want to talk about. The Nets signed Blake Griffin. That was a big thing over the weekend. Obviously, everyone knew Blake Griffin was getting bought out. Blake Griffin was not going to get traded. There was not really a market for Blake Griffin. So, the Nets get Blake Griffin. And, there's no in-between with this signing. You're either really happy about it or you think this isn't going to help the Nets at all. And I don't understand the people that think this isn't going to help the Nets at all. Blake Griffin is still Blake Griffin. He's still at least going to give you 10 points off the bench. He still can set screens. He still can work in the post. And, 2 years ago, he could hit 3-ball. This year, not so much. But I don't think he's starting caliber. I think there's been a report that they plan to use him as a small ball center. That's exactly the role Blake Griffin should hold. A small ball center off the bench, set some screens, get in the post, maybe draw a little fouls, and give you 12 to 14 points per game. He's not an all-star. That's not, but the Nets know that. When signing him, they know what they're expecting, and I think he's going to deliver for what they're expecting, and maybe even better for what they're expecting, because expectations are so low. Blake Griffin can still play basketball. I don't think he's washed, but he's not as good as he was. He's really poor in comparison to what he was, an all-star 2-3 years ago. But if you're just asking him to be a pretty good scorer off the bench and a center off the bench, then he is not bad for what you're asking him to do. But if you're asking him to go back to his 2014 self, then no. that's not what you're going to get from Blake Griffin. So I think it's a good signing for... It depends on your expectations. But I expect him to come in for Brooklyn, be a good small ball center. And that is, if he's doing that, that is good. That's what you want from Blake Griffin. So I like the signing. I think it's good for Brooklyn. I think it's only going to help Brooklyn. And, and then there's reports that they are also looking for Andre Drummond. So Andre Drummond obviously has not been holding out. The Cavs are holding him out because they're not going to play him until they find a trade suitor, which is whatever. They don't want to play a guy that they know they're going to end up trading, whether sooner than later, or buying him out now. As a Cavaliers fan, I don't want to lose Drummond for nothing, but it seems like buyout is where they're headed, because I don't know if the market, just like there was no market for Blake Griffin, I think the market for Drummond would be a little bit more. I think he should get traded, but he might get bought out. And the Nets and Lakers are interested in him. Now, if the Nets and Lakers are interested in you, you should go to one of those teams. So I think he's going to be a Net or a Laker if he's bought out. Now, if he's traded, you have a bunch of teams that could come up suiting him. Maybe Boston, maybe Toronto. I think Toronto is definitely a good place for him. For what they will be asking him to do, I think he can come in and he can do well on Toronto. So I think that's a good place. But, if he's bought out, that is big for Brooklyn. Because I'm saying a lot of people act like Andre Drummond can't come in and help any team, which is crazy to me. As a Cavaliers fan, I've been watching Drummond play this season. He's not terrible. Offensively, his game needs work. Because there's a lot of times where he's twisting and turning in the post and ends up turning the ball over. He doesn't have a real direction where he's going with the ball in the post. And, but there's also times where he's going to come in and set screens and lob and catch the lob and hit dunk. But defensively is where he makes his money. There is nothing you can turn to make it seem like Andre Drummond is a bad defender. The Cavaliers, early season, turned their defensive identity around. And that was led by Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond was coming in. He was blocking shots. He was playing incredible post defense and interior defense. And that's exactly what Brooklyn need. So if Brooklyn are able to get that in Drummond, that is big. That's great for them. That's not something you just sweep under the rug and be like, no, that's big. That's going to improve the Nets. And that's for any team that's under Drummond. Toronto, Boston, LA, wherever team he goes, that team is going to be improved by his presence. So whatever you think about him, whatever team that gets him, that team's going to improve. So that's all I got to say about Andre Drummond. So even if you don't like him, you don't think he's good, that team will be better when getting Andre Drummond. So that's how all I have to say. He's not an all-star, but he's a quality center that's going to bring pretty good stuff to the table, and especially defensively. He's a great defensively. And then you got the Bucks, you got the Celtics, you got the Heat, teams that are going to be good in the Eastern Conference. The Raptors fall at 8, but when you look at the standings, you can't just look through 1 to 8 like you normally do. The play-in is 1 through 10. 1 through 10 have a spot to make the playoffs. So to me, I'm looking through 1 through 10 because if you're 10 seed, you have a good chance of making the playoffs. All you gotta do is win. But so the teams that wouldn't be in the play-in or playoff picture, Hawks, Wizards, Cavs, Orlando, and Detroit, are just an abomination right now. Utah, the only team to not reach 10 losses at 27-9. They stand at top of the Western Conference. Then you have Phoenix, second in the Western Conference. You got LA, you got Clippers, you got Portland, you got Denver, you got San Antonio. San Antonio, that's where I want to stop. San Antonio has been really good. And nobody's talking about it. San Antonio is going to make the playoffs. Play in at least, but I think they're going to make the playoffs. DeMar DeRozan has been incredible. I think DeMar DeRozan deserves to make the All-Star game. There was a lot of conversation about that, but DeMar DeRozan, he is leading the San Antonio team being that good. And then you've got major improvement from Keldon Johnson, major improvement from Lonnie Walker. that team is just good right now, and I hope they can keep it going. The Lakers, they're fine for losing AD. The Suns, they're really good, but everyone expected that after getting Chris Paul. The Clippers are good. Portland, it's surprising how good they are. Portland, CJ McCollum been out for months. Jusuf Nurkic has been out for months, and just Dame is just doing it, So I'm like, he's just a joy to watch, and I'm glad that he's, really putting Portland on his back. The Warriors are 9, but that's not that big of a deal. Mavericks at 8, and Memphis at 10. Okay, so those are the two conferences. Also, the Jazz, earlier today, before I recorded this, the Jazz signed Ezran Ilyasova, which I think that's a good signing for them. Ezran Ilyasova, he's good. He can shoot the ball. Not really brings a lot to the table defensively. But, I don't know how much he's going to play. I doubt he's really going to be like a rotational player in the playoffs. But it's just more depth, more shooting. You can never go wrong with that. I think Ezran Ilyasova, it was a shame he was a free agent for so long. So I'm glad he finally got a job. And yeah, I think that's going to move on from me talking about the standings in my mid-season review. Alright, I'll do this. Mid-season awards. If I was to give awards mid-season, I think MVP right now is Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has been incredible. The Sixers, he's averaging 30 and 11 per game. Insane. The Sixers are really good. And this is the year many have said the process is on the line. Ben Simmons, they bet on Ben Simmons. They did not trade him to the Rockets, maybe because of the Rockets' asking price, but whatever. They bet on him. They bet on him to not do that trade, to not trade him in general. And now they have Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons has been playing well. Joel Embiid has been playing great. And I don't think the process is on the line this year, as people are saying, but winning a championship probably firms their status. Like, they win a championship, Ben Simmons not going anywhere. But yeah, I'd say MVP Joel Embiid. Rookie of the Year, not even in question, it's LaMelo Ball. Tyrese Halliburton has been great. He's a joy to watch, but it's LaMelo Ball. Most improved is a tough one. There's a lot of guys that you can put in that category. Christian Wood, one guy that pops out. Jeremy Grant, another guy that pops out. But I think Christian Wood's injury is really going to hurt him in that race. So I'd go Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's been great for the Pistons. Could have been an all-star, but missed the cut. Six-man, easy, Jordan Clarkson. Coach of the Year, I would say Quinn Snyder so far. He's been great for Utah. Okay, so moving on to All-Star Weekend. All-Star Weekend was whatever. I didn't even realize All-Star Weekend was on Sunday until that day. But, it was fine. It was fine. For what you gonna get with COVID, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't something I was super excited for. I definitely preferred last year's, but it was fine. You had the skills challenge and the 3-point contest before everything. Everything being on the same night is trash. It's trash. But with COVID, you had to do what you had to do. But yeah, I hope that doesn't become a regular thing even after COVID. All-Star, everything being on the same night is just not. No. So you had the skills challenge before everything. Domantas Sabonis won that, and that was pretty. I always love the skills challenge. Like, you can't go wrong with the skills challenge, right? Like, the 3-point contest, I don't think you can really go wrong with the 3-point contest either. Dunk contests are always hit or miss. Like, and all-star games can be hit or miss too. But the skill challenge and the 3-point contest are always entertaining. So, skill challenge, that was great. Domantas Sabonis won it. Then you had 3-point contest. I don't think many people were really betting against Steph Curry going into that. I definitely had my money on Steph. But, Jesus, man, he was just crazy in that. Like, he just wasn't missing. And then to play an all-star game 30 minutes later and go crazy in that too, it was just incredible. Then you had the all-star game, the first half, then you had dunk contest. Let's talk about dunk contest first. I wasn't really paying attention that much. No. What happened when I was watching the dunk contest, my TV shut off, and I missed, from when the second round first started, and it turned back on after the dunk contest already finished. But But I saw the Franny Simmons kiss the rim dunk. From what I seen, it was a pretty lackluster dunk contest. But, you get what you get, right? A dunk contest with no fans isn't going to be incredible. It's not going to be groundbreaking. Kind of like you just get what you get. And, that was fine for halftime. If you didn't want to watch, go get a drink, go eat some food. Like, it was halftime. Yeah, All-Star Game was cool. Steph Curry and Damian Lillard trading threes. That was a highlight. Steph Curry was great. Giannis was something else. 16 for 16? That was insane. And then you saw a lot of propaganda on Twitter about Steph Curry and LeBron teaming up. That was, man. When you put Steph Curry and LeBron on the same floor, which is crazy, out of every All-Star game, that was the first time they ever shared the same floor in their lives. And, LeBron tweeted about it. Obviously, I would love to see those two team up. I don't want it to happen because that would ruin parity. But I would love to see those two team up. I've seen Lakers fans saying trade AD for Steph. Crazy. But, hey, man. I wouldn't think, I don't know how it happens. If it was to happen. Because I don't see Steph Curry leaving Golden State. Obviously, LeBron has a 4-year deal, which he would come off of it. And then you could... I just don't know. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. But if it was, that would be something else. But again, two of the best players in the league, they went off. And it wasn't a close game, but I think everyone expected that. Team Durant lost, They lost, a lot. They lost Joel Embiid. They lost Kevin Durant, obviously. And I think one other starter or one other guy they had was out through injury with Devin Booker. Yeah, they were just losing people, left and right. And, so they lost. They got blown out. Team LeBron played great. I'm not really going to go into depth discussing an All-Star game, takeaways from it. It's an All-Star game. They just shot, they had fun. The new format, it didn't really matter. See, that's what's with the new format. The new format is cool when it's a close game, but when when Team LeBron is up 20, the add 24 for Kobe format is just whack. But I think it's fine format. I don't think they should change it. And what was it? That Dame half quarter, the end of the game, that was crazy. But you knew it was good. You saw him pull up, you knew that was going in. So, that's my All-Star Weekend review, my mid-season review. I think the NBA starts back tomorrow. So, I'll be excited for that. And it's just good to have a cool break from basketball. Then we go nonstop. And we've only really got a month left. Don't the playoffs start in April? Or June? Only 1 or 2 months left. So, we're about to be there. But yeah, that's what I got for All-Star Weekend. And we're going to move on to the NFL portion of the show. So, in the NFL, today was franchise before all that, so in the last episode, I talked about J.J. Watt and potential destinations. And I mentioned the Cardinals. People I didn't think this was out of nowhere. And I think it was a good move for the Cardinals. The Cardinals were a game away from the playoffs last year, and they missed it. It was whatever, but, I was disappointed in the Cardinals. They lost to the 49ers. How do you lose to the 49ers with C.J. Beathard? Yeah, I was disappointed in the Cardinals. There were games that they should have won, and they did not. They just didn't perform. And I think J.J., but I don't know. I would say I think J.J. Watt puts that team over the playoff hunt, but the 49ers are going to be better with Jimmy Garoppolo being back. You got the Seahawks, that's a playoff team. And you got the Rams who just got Matthew Stafford. So they're also going to be a playoff team. I don't know where the Cardinals fall in that. A 3-team playoff division is very, the chances of that are extremely low. So, I don't know. I hope they make it. I want to see this team succeed. And I think they're making the right moves to succeed. But I don't know. Patrick Peterson, they're going to lose him. So, I don't know. But it's a good signing for the Cardinals, obviously, is J.J. Watt. He did get paid, which I thought he was going to take a kind of a pay cut to go to like a Super Bowl caliber team. But no, he got paid, which is good for him. He was not ready to take that pay because he's still got a lot of years left. What is he like taking a pay cut? So, people like, I don't think the Cardinals are a Super Bowl team, but they're a good team. They're a playoff team, and that's fine for J.J. Watt to get paid a lot of money to go to a playoff team. That's great. They're going to have a great pass rush, and hopefully it takes them over that borderline playoff team hump to an actual playoff team. So franchise tag day. One that got a lot of noise was the Bears tagging Allen Robinson. And so, I don't know how this was a surprise to most. I think most people just wanted Allen Robinson on their favorite team because at the end of the day, it's Allen Robinson. He's an amazing receiver, and I would love him on my favorite team. You would love him on your favorite team. So, and there was a lot of discussion that he would leave the Bears. I think if they tagged him, he was out of there. But they get one more year of him, and that's probably all it will be. One more year. Before franchise tag day, Dak Prescott got the bag. He got extended, and he got the bag. He got what he's been wanting for a year now. And I didn't think he'd get it. Honestly, I didn't think he'd get it. But it's like there was not really any other options for the Cowboys. If they didn't reach on Dak and Dak ended up leaving, like, who's their quarterback for next year? Dak was great for them, so they ended up getting him back. And like I said, it's a cold world when it comes to being a general manager and stuff. But if I was a general manager, I would never bet on ACL injuries. So I would like trading Derrick Rose. I wouldn't have gave Jonathan Isaac an extension. I just don't think betting on those injuries. I'm not a great person. But I would never bet on those injuries. But you couldn't lose Dak. I understand. Dak Prescott is great, and if you put the right talent around him, Dallas Cowboys will succeed. I think they'll be a playoff team again. But also, again, coming off an ACL injury. I know he was great before. I know he can be great. But he tore his ACL. That's not minor. So, I think he'll be okay. I hope he'll be okay. But, again, an ACL tear, I just don't think it's right to bet on those. But I hope he'll be good again. I think the Cowboys will be fine. And maybe a playoff team again. That division isn't much better than it was last year. So far, obviously, free agency hasn't started yet. The draft hasn't started yet. But, that was surprising because it just didn't. It looked like that relationship was kind of fractured. But, doesn't matter. They got him back. And, hopefully they do big things with him. And the last thing I want to talk about in this episode, it just happened. While I was recording the podcast, Malcolm Butler has been released by the Titans. Okay, so Malcolm Butler is not a bad player. He's a great player. He'll probably still start on a team, a good team. But the Titans just needed the cap room. They have other needs after losing in the first round of the playoffs. They have other needs, and Malcolm Butler wasn't the direction they wanted to go on. So I think that's interesting. I think he's a guy that, for a team that could use a cornerback, for a team that has defensive struggles, that could be a big piece for them, because Malcolm Butler can still play. Don't let people twist it the other way. Malcolm Butler can definitely still play, and I'm interested to see where he goes, but he was on a big contract, and it just wasn't the right direction for the Titans. So there's a bunch of other franchise tags, Leonard Williams, Chris Godwin. But, I talked about who I talked about. And, as always, if you made it this far, leave a like. I always appreciate it. But even watching this, even clicking on it is much appreciated. It's been the Double Trouble Podcast, and I'm out.